Okay, guys. Quick edit after finding out, posting the deck profile, posting the match. There's actually a little interesting thing you can do. My friend Leo found this out. You know, pretty convenient after the game. That's all I'm gonna say. His deck is based on capitalism, so that's tell you what it tells you. Turns out the cards under the base don't actually really belong there. It's a shared card pool among all bases. So theoretically speaking, if you have a column like this with this base, you could rest and pitch a card to call this so you can have multi-attack. And then you can rest and Soul Blast with this one to actually call this card to guard. I talked a lot of shit about this deck, and it's still pretty bad, right? It's still a pretty mid-tier deck, but that's actually a really neat thing you can do. And I've never seen anyone talk about this because apparently these scouted cards are a shared card pool among all bases. And I've been playing this deck pretty much as it came out, and I've never seen anyone talk about it. My friend Leo had to look on the wiki to find this out. But that is a really cool interaction, and it makes playing the deck a hell of a lot easier. And I just wanted to make a quick edit at the beginning of the video because you'll see during the deck profile I talk about how that's a really feels bad moment when you have something like this. But FYI, all bases share all scouted cards. Just a quick edit at the beginning, just so the rest of the video you have this knowledge already. Now to the deck profile. Yo, what's up, homies? It's Cat from Monkey Minky Misplays, and today I'm going to be profiling my heroes. Starting with the lineup, we have the Grade 0, the Grade 1, the Grade 2, and the Grade 3, all from the heroes, because honestly, you cannot play anything different, because this on plays searches a hero base, and him, once per turn, you can put a hero into the base to draw a card, which is actually really cool, it being a once per turn, because that means you can play a Grade 2 game with it against Messiah, Chrono, Luord, and the Shiranuis. Um, Honestly, I do hope this deck gets some new support, maybe a new lineup, maybe a new boss, because the boss, all he does is give 5k to all your heroes in the front row, and for a CB he gives himself 15k and a crit if you have 2 or 3 bases, respectively. Honestly, it feels like a trial deck boss. We could really use a new one. And just an FYI, I do have the old misprints. They are now the Galactic heroes, like this one says, which doesn't matter in some cases, such as the base. We're going to start off with the base because this is pretty much the whole heart and soul of the deck. On plays, look at top 7, and you get to choose 3 heroes. They don't have to be different names. It could just be any 3 heroes. 1 will go to your hand, and 2 will go into the base. Now, why does that matter? Because the base has 2 other effects. You can rest and discard a card to call a hero to your board that's equal or less to your Vanguard, or you can rest and Soul Blast to use a hero as shield, which is actually really cool. It gives this deck some survivability, it gives this deck some flexibility. I just really wished both effects didn't rest, because you can't use both on one on your turn, one on your opponent's turn. Kind of hoping Bushiroad gives either a new base, a grade 1 that can untap it, or maybe a hero that can untap it himself, plus doing other things. Because that does feel bad, because sometimes you will have, say, the shield hero, who I'll get to in a minute, and like this hero is like really good to call out just because he gets power on the board, and he's really good shield because he gets plus 15k, but sadly we cannot do both. You would need 2 different bases for that, and the heroes would need to be in the different bases. That does feel bad, I'm not gonna lie, but other than that, it's actually just a really good card, allowing you to get 3 cards. It's pretty powerful. And you see here it says hero base. It does not search itself. Again, this is the misprint, just for like any new players wondering. I really wish it could search itself. That'd be really nice, because we only have one other way to search it, and it's not by hero name, which does feel kind of bad, not counting the beaver, of course. So when I'm usually playing this deck, I will hard mulligan for at least 1 in my hand, because you're going to need at least 3 so that your boss can be at full power, and plus, it deck things a lot. Moving on to the grade 1s, we do have Galactic Hero Foriel. She is the one who allows you to multi-attack, actually, because after the battle that your Vanguard attacks, you can Soul Blast, rest her, and then you're allowed to move 2 heroes around, which allows you to multi-attack, gives you 4 attacks. That's really good, but I really wish we had a boss that can move them around, because other than that, she's just a vanilla, because you cannot boost with her either, which is sometimes also feels bad, but you know, he kind of supplements that by giving himself 15k, making him a 28 base, 38 with the Persona Ride. But if we can get a Vanguard, a main grade 3, that can switch them around, we could easily cut her, but as of right now, she is a staple 4 of. And the only other grade 1 is PGs. This is a budget deck. I didn't really feel like putting that much money into heroes, so I did not go for the Blitz order. This is a really good budget deck for new players. If you got like 50 cents, you can probably pick up the whole deck for that much. It's a fun deck overall, but you've seen like some of the problems, and when you play with it, you'll see some of the issues the deck has. Starting with the grade 2s, we have the original Hammer Hero, Soufre. She's interesting. For a CB1, she can retire a column that she's in front of. That's pretty decent. You don't really use it all that often. Her other effect is, as long as you have an order zone as a base, she gets plus 5k, making her 15k, 20k with your Vanguard, and that's without a Persona Ride. So that's a really good, because that means she could just poke by herself without boosting. So you can perhaps have a hero behind her. That way you can be a 20k base, then you can switch them around. Our next hero is the other original, Shield Hero, Aspida. Personally, one of my favorite heroes. Sorry about that. Personally, one of my favorite heroes. He gets plus 15k as long as your order zone has a base. And he does not have to be in the base for that to trigger. It could be in your hand, on the board, or in the base. So he's actually active on turn 2. Really good shield value, really good to keep you alive. If there's one thing Heroes is good at, is survivability. Finally, our last hero, and honestly, the best hero, Bold Salos, he helped the deck immensely. I really wish Bushiroad would give us more support like him, because when he's pitched through the effect of a base, you can CB1, call him to the board, and you can shove a hero from your drop into the base. That is amazing. If Bushiroad would just give us more effects like this, I feel like heroes could actually do something. But sadly, this is the only one we got so far. We did get a new promo, and it's honestly alright. It allows you to speed up a little bit, but I think the deck needs a lot more support before this deck could be called a rogue deck. Moving on to the grade 3s. We of course have the main boss himself, Dianos. As I said, for a CB he gets, if you have 2 bases, 15k, you have 3, he gets a crit. He also gives your front row heroes a 5k boost, which is not awful. Again, it feels kind of like a starter deck card, but it's all we have at the moment. You want to run the full amount for Persona Ride. We don't play Cup because the space is insanely tight, but we did make space for 3 Robust. Honestly, a godsend for a lot of budget decks like Heroes, because for a CB1, he'll let you search for your order, as long as you have 2 named copies already on the board. And in this deck, you only have the 1 order, so he will search them. And then when he attacks, if you have 2 or more of the same name order, he gives himself 10k for free. Honestly, a great attacker, just great card overall. I don't really have enough space for the 4th. Maybe you can cut one of the Hammer Heroes for him, but honestly, with 3, I've been seeing him enough. In fact, I feel like I see him way too much, but that would probably be the 1 card I cut for the 4th copy. But he is an insanely good card, at least 3. Moving on to the triggers. We play 4 vanilla crit, 4 vanilla front, 3 vanilla draw, 4 vanilla heal, and the 1 OT. Like I said, this is a budget deck. I feel like, as a budget deck, you don't really want to spend all that money. Again, this is for newer players, casual players. That's kind of the demographic I go for. If you have a really tight budget, you still want to play Vanguard, decks like that you'll really like. This deck is still fun. And as far as my order lineup, this deck is very flexible, kind of like the CEO Welster deck. You can play 8 crit if you like. You can play 4 draws. You can mess around with the ratios depending on your format, your locals. I've just been liking this quite a bit. It's just very fun. As I said, just very casual. but you can definitely mess around with the lineup. 4 heals. Again, you can mess around with them. We have a bunch of effect heals you can use. I just didn't really put a lot of thought into this. And that's pretty much the deck. Again, as far as budget options, this deck is very budget itself, so you can't really get more budget than heroes. The only thing, like I said, I really wish Bushiroad would show this deck a little bit more love, because the deck desperately needs it. Like, for instance, maybe a better ride line, better boss, more cards like Bold Solas. If the deck got at least as much love as Welstra does, the deck could actually compete at a rogue level. But as for now, it is a fun, casual deck for anyone who just likes the hero theme. And I'm Cat from the Monkey Making Misplays. I'll see you on the next one.